to this video on how to adjust our scale, positioning, and opacity within Premiere Pro. By the time you're done with this, you're going to learn how to add keystones, how to get them to move or animate smoothly, and why we would want to do that. With that, let's get started.
So let's say that we wanted to zoom in on our two subjects over time. In order to do that, we're going to come up here to Effect Controls. Remember, if you don't have Effect Controls, Windows, Effect Controls. So the first thing that we have to do is let Premiere Pro know that we want it to change the scale over time. To do that, you click on this little stopwatch. Click, and it turns blue, and you'll notice a little diamond showed up right there. Clicking the stopwatch is like saying record. Premiere Pro, I want you to record something. I don't want you to start at this frame, and that little diamond is a keyframe. So I've created a keyframe in Premiere Pro that said, I want you to do something. What do I want you to do? I want you to zoom in. So I'm going to slide my timeline ahead a little bit. And then I want to say, I want to zoom in to my 150%. Now, if I go back and watch that.
In addition to filmmaking, you're also going to learn how.
You can see that it zoomed in between those two diamonds. If I want it to be a longer zoom in, I can slide that diamond out.
So in addition to filmmaking, you're also going to learn how to critically look at.
But you can adjust the timing of the movement, in this case the zooming, by changing where those little diamonds are. Let's say that I wanted to zoom out again. Well, then I would come over here and I would click another keyframe. Click. Move ahead a little bit in space. And then I want to zoom it out. So I'm going to go back to 100%. Now we watch.
In addition to filmmaking, you're also going to learn how to critically look at actual films and respond to them and understand why.
Okay, so things that we need to know. This keyframe, this first diamond says do something. So between 0 and diamond, Premiere Pro didn't do anything. It said start at 100%, stay at 100% until you get to that diamond. Between the first keyframe and the second keyframe, you're telling Premiere Pro to zoom in slowly, changing the scale until you get to the second diamond, which is our second keyframe. Between keyframe 2 and 3, you're telling Premiere Pro to continue doing what you're doing, which is 150%, until you hit keyframe 3. Now between keyframe 3 and 4, we're going to zoom back out to 100%. So in section 1, stay at 100%. Between 1 and 2, zoom in. Now we set a keyframe, said stay, do what you do, what you do, what you do, what you do, stay what you're doing. Now begin to zoom back out again. And then for the rest of the film, it's going to stay where it is. A lot of times people forget to add this second stay doing what you're doing keyframe. If I then wanted to zoom back in, I would set another keyframe so that between keyframe 4 and 5, Premiere Pro stays where it is. And then I want to zoom back in over here. I want to go to 150%. And you can see by just changing the scale, it automatically created a keyframe for me. So this is what I call my tabletop. Stay doing what you're doing. And then zoom back in again. See, if I didn't have this keyframe in there, watch what happens between 4 and 5. So I've zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. Stay doing what you're doing. Zoom back out again. Now I forgot to tell it what to do, so it slowly zooms all the way in over time. That's not what I wanted to do. So right here, let's go back to 100. Now it'll stay where it's supposed to. All right, pretty cool. That's the basics of movement and keyframing. You start a keyframe, you get it moving, you keep it where it is, you make it do something else. However, the default on Premiere Pro is to make things move in straight lines, and that's gross. Nothing in the world moves in straight lines, right? Imagine you're driving a car. You need to speed up until you get to your cruising speed, and then you drive for a little while, then you just slow down. When you walk, same thing. You got to speed up. You got to get moving from rest to some velocity. And Premiere Pro has us do it instantly, and it moves in a straight line, and it looks PowerPointy and gross. We're not going to do that. What we are going to do is ease in and ease out. So in keyframe number 1, I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to pick ease out because I'm easing out of that keyframe so that I'm not moving linearly out. I'm easing out slowly. And you can see it changed from a diamond to the full hourglass. I'm coming into this next keyframe. So I'm going to right click on that and I'm going to ease into that. So now between keyframe 1 and 2, easing out and easing in. Can you see the difference? It starts off slower, speeds up, and then slows down. And it's a much smoother transition. You will always ease in and ease out. If you choose not to ease in and ease out, you must talk to me or Mr. Yost beforehand and justify your artistic choice as to why you are breaking the rule of ease in, ease out. In our world, we ease in and ease out. So we will ease in and ease out in the films as well. When you make it linear, it's gross. Don't do it. So I'm easing out of the first keyframe and into the second. Now here I'm just staying still, so I don't need to do anything. From keyframe 3 now, I'm moving out of keyframe 3, so I'm going to right click and I'm going to ease out. And as I approach keyframe 4, am I going to ease in or ease out? That's right, we're going to ease in because we're coming into keyframe 4. So now when I watch that over again, smooth animation. Smooth animation. And it's not linear and gross. This is linear and gross. Can you see the difference there? First one. Second one. Yeah, linear. Gross. All right, so what do we have to do for this keyframe? Do we ease in or ease out? That's right, ease out. We're moving out of that keyframe. We're coming into this one, so I need to ease in to that one. Perfect. So you've just seen how we can animate our scale over time. Next, we're going to look at the position. Now, let's say that we wanted to focus in a little bit more on Mr. Yost. So I'm going to break my rule to scale of 150, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Let's try 200%. And I'm going to move my position over to him. So let's say that I want to move him towards the center of the picture a little bit. I want to slide Mr. Lau over to the side. So to change the position, the first thing I'm going to have to do is say, record what I want you to do. And you'll see my keyframe came automatically. I want you to do something. What I want you to do, between keyframe 1 and keyframe 2, let's say that I want you to slide over. And if you remember from the last video, our horizontal value, just slide Mr. Yost over so that he takes up more of the focal point. But again, I got my gross diamonds. I don't like that. I'm going to right click on that first keyframe. And do I ease in or ease out? That's right. I ease out. On the second keyframe, I'm going to right click on that and ease. You got it. Ease in. So now what should happen is I'm zooming in, and then once I've zoomed in, I'm sliding over.
What they do and why they create or why they put together the shots that they put together in that narrative.
Do I like that? Yeah, not really. I think they should probably happen at the same time. So what I'm going to do is take this one, slide it over. And I'm going to take this one and slide it over. So now I'm zooming in and kind of isolating Mr. Yost. Let's see if I like that better.
Do what they do and why they create or why they put together the shots.
Yeah, I think that looks way better.
Filmmaking structure.
But when we jump from clip 1 to clip 2, you can see I've gone back to my original. And I don't want to, it's a great face I'm making. I don't want to do that. So I want to make sure that when I'm transitioning from clip 1 to clip 2, there's not a dramatic jump. I don't want that. I will still want to be focused on Mr. Yost. So I want to copy these keyframes. I'm going to highlight. On a Windows PC, I hit Control-C. On a Mac, I hit Command-C, or you can come up here to Edit and hit Copy. Once you have those keyframes copied, you click on your second clip to activate that. Come up to Effect Controls, make sure that your blue box is around Effect Controls, and hit Paste. Control-V.
Command-V on a Mac.
Or you can come up here to Edit and hit Paste. You need to make sure that your blue box is activated, because if my border is around my sequence, if I hit Control-V to paste, nothing happens. What do I do? Again, make sure that your blue box is around your Effect Control panel, so that when you hit Paste, Control-V, your keyframes come in. And now you can see that there's no change between clip 1 and clip 2 It's a fairly seamless transition between the two. But now, since Mr. Lau is talking, I want to shift the focus over to him. So between this keyframe, let's move over a little bit to there. And let's say, and now I want to slide this value over. Focus on Mr. Lau. I'm going to have to add my easing to the keyframes again. So this first keyframe, I'm easing out of that keyframe. And the second one, I'm easing in. Ease out, ease in. Now let's watch that between clip 1 and 2.
In addition to using the camera to set
Happens a little bit fast, so I'm going to slide this one over.
Filmmaking structure.
In addition to using the camera to set up for low light, high light.
I think that looks pretty good. Now let's say that we wanted to reset it back to our original part. So after Mr. Lau talks for a little while, we wanted to position back out to the way that it was. So we need to, again, tell Premiere Pro that I wanted you to do what you were doing between the last keyframe and this keyframe. So I need to set some more keyframes. It says, all this time we've been staying still. Haven't done anything here. We haven't changed anything here. Now, once we get to here, from this point on, I want you to do something else. What do I want you to do? Well, I want you to come back to 150, which is what I originally was. And I need to come back to my original position. But I don't remember my original position. So what I do is I cheat. I come back to clip 1, activate clip 1, and I look at all of this was my original position. And from here to here is where I zoomed in over Mr. Yost.
Do what they do and why they.
Yeah, so all of this is where I'm supposed to be. That's my baseline. So I could either write down these numbers and go add those in, but I'm not going to do that. I copy this original keyframe, come back over here to my second clip, move along to this keyframe. So here's a trick I haven't told you yet. If you're sliding your timeline and you want to focus in on a particular point, if you hold down Shift, it'll snap to that location. Shift snaps to that location. So no Shift, it doesn't do anything. Hold down Shift and it snaps to the next location. If yours isn't snapping, you probably accidentally turned it off. You come up here to Sequence, Snap in Timeline, or hit the letter S on your keyboard. And then when you hold Shift down, it'll snap to the next location. Kind of handy. So I've copied my original keyframe. Now if I paste it, boop, my position comes into my original position. Pretty handy. So this tells me to zoom back out to where I was originally, my 960, 540. But I need to add my easing. I haven't done that yet for any of these four. I'm going to tell you a little trick that I use. If you forget whether you're easing in or easing out, add them both. And you can add them at the same time. So I'm going to grab all of these. And by grabbing, I mean left click on my mouse, dragging my box so that I've grabbed all of them, right click, and I'm going to ease in, right click again, and I'm going to ease out. So now I've applied easing in and easing out to both of them, knowing that I really only need to ease out of that and into this one. But I can have an easing out and easing in. If you forget which one it is, you don't want to learn which one it is, you just want to use it, grab them all. The last thing I want to show you is how to handle the opacity. Let's say that we wanted to fade to black at the end, and we went to apply our dip to black and it wasn't working. That happens sometimes when the clips don't have enough extra footage at the end for Premiere Pro to work with those frames. And we've run into that a couple of times earlier in the course. We're not able to use dip to black. So again, we can work around that. What we're going to do is work with the opacity. We're going to set a keyframe that tells Premiere Pro, I want you to be at 100% opacity until this point in time. And then at the end of my clip, I want you to go down to 0. So now when I watch the end of this clip, and it's a nice fade to black. You can ease in and ease out for opacity. I found that it doesn't really have that much of an effect. I can't see it real well with the opacity. So I generally don't bother putting easing on opacity changes because it's not very visible to the human eye. If you can see it, put it in. But I'm not going to require it. I am going to require it for your position and your scale.
So there you have it. We saw how to set a keyframe, how to change our positioning, scaling, or opacity, how to keep it constant for a little while, and then get it to move again. We saw how to ease in, how to ease out, and when we would do which one. That's all for this episode. We'll see you in the next one.